Come make some brown butter chocolate chip sourdough cookies with me. First, we're going to brown 2 sticks of butter on medium-low heat. Once it's melted down into a liquid, we're going to turn the heat up to medium-high and let it bubble. This recipe, since using sourdough discard, makes it more moist, so we have to find other ways in the recipe to get rid of the water and moisture. One of the ways is browning the butter, since when it bubbles, it releases the steam and gets rid of excess moisture. Make sure that when you have the butter on a medium-high heat, that you're continuously stirring it to make sure that it doesn't burn. Just listen to the sound of it bubbling away. I will include the full recipe at the very end of the video so you can see it all together. After a few minutes, you'll start to see some of these bigger bubbles collected on top. Then a few minutes later, you'll start to see them turn into smaller foam-like bubbles. Once you see those tiny foaming bubbles, we're only a few minutes away from being done browning our butter. Make sure you stir continuously so you don't go from browning your butter to burning your butter. As you stir, you'll start to see a brown coloration come up onto the surface. Once you see more of a deep golden color coming up to the surface, give it about another minute and then go ahead and remove it from the heat. So then what you'll want to do is you'll want to get your brown butter and go ahead and pour it into whatever bowl you're going to be mixing your dough into. It just kind of helps save a dish so you're not, pouring it into another one and then have to pour it into a larger bowl just to mix all of your dough for your cookies. But look at that nice brown butter. And you want to make sure to get all the little flaky bits. They add some flavor from the bottom of the pan. You'll see some of it kind of stuck to the bottom. There we go. That's a nice, caramely brown appearance. It's not too dark. That's perfect. It's going to add some good flavor. So now we're just going to let this cool. Next, we're going to add 1 cup of packed brown sugar and 2/3 cup of granulated sugar. We'll also add 2 egg yolks. This is another way that we're removing some of the moisture by just using the egg yolks instead of the whole eggs. Then we will add 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. I just use my kitchen spoons for measuring teaspoons and tablespoons. For the teaspoons, I use a small spoon, and the tablespoons, I use a big spoon. So I kind of just estimate them, but hey, it works for me. Then to your bowl, go ahead and add 2/3 cup of sourdough discard. If you're wondering what sourdough discard is, it's really just inactive, unfed sourdough starter. I had some sitting on my counter since I hadn't fed my starter yet that day. This is going to give our cookies some amazing flavor from the sourdough, but it won't be overwhelming. It'll also give the added benefits of all the sourdough has to offer. Next, you're just going to mix everything together in your bowl. Once it's well combined, we'll go ahead and start on mixing together our dry ingredients. Go ahead and add together 2 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 3/4 teaspoon of salt. Mix them until it's well combined. So now we're going to mix the dry ingredients into the wet. I like to finish mixing it with my hands. That way I can really fully incorporate it. Then we will mix in 1.5 cups of chocolate chips. If you have any chocolate bars on hand, you can also cut it up and use chopped chocolate in this recipe, and it makes for a delicious cookie. Add some parchment paper to your cookie sheet and roll your dough into 1 tablespoon balls and place them about 2 inches apart on your cookie sheet. I then decided to roll out the rest of the dough and put them on a different cookie sheet so that I could freeze the dough and just pop them in the oven on another day. By freezing them like this on a cookie sheet, it helps them not to stick together when I put them in a Ziploc bag, so then I can take out as many or as little as I'd like to bake without a hassle. Go ahead and transfer your cookies into an oven at 350 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes. If you have extra time, I definitely recommend refrigerating the dough before baking them because it really helps the flavors marinate between the sourdough and the brown sugar. So this was about 12.5 minutes, and they're nice and golden. But if you like more of like a gooey, soft cookie, I definitely recommend like 10 to 12 minutes. And right whenever they come out of the oven, you're gonna sprinkle on some flaky salt. The sweet and the salty mix on these cookies is so good. Now we're just gonna move these onto a cooling rack. These are a little more on the well done side, but here they are and they taste amazing. So I made some on more of the gooey side, and this is how they turned out. They are delicious. Thanks for watching. Soli Deo Gloria. Bye-bye.